Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Madara gives Naruto his Rinnegan, part 1. Subscribe if you enjoy the video, let's start the story. The withered body of Uchiha Madara gazed upon the sleeping body of Uzumaki Naruto, with his Rinnegan eyes receding back to the standard 3-tomo Sharingan. When the boy had first arrived he was dead with a large gaping hole in his chest, brought to him by the Zetsu. Flashback. Why have you brought him to be Zetsu? The elder Uchiha asked, as he glared at the artificially created human. You wanted a successor, no? The glare's intensity increased. One that is filled with darkness, and more importantly alive. But if you revive him with the Rinnegan he will be alive. The Black Zetsu said. And tell me why would I ever do such a thing? Because he is the former of the Kyuubi and an Uzumaki. If you do revive him he will be the closest being to the Rakuto Sennin without actually being a. Flashback end. Thinking back, Madara was grateful that Zetsu brought him the boy. He knew his body would not last longer despite being attached to the Jitomazu. Years ago when he had attempted to recreate the Rinnegan by injecting his own cells and Senju Hashiramas into various children. But it wasn't until much later when he was forced to rely on the Jitomazu did Madara learn of one successful experiment. The new Rinnegan user was an Uzumaki. Quite perfect, in his opinion. Backup eyes that he needed in case anything went wrong. But it was weaker than his own according to Zetsu's report. However, it would be enough to revive him after his death, however it was always good to have a backup plan for a backup plan. Zetsu had already informed him of the release of the Kyuubi thanks to the death of the third and the hands of his best friend, Uchiha Sasuke. It seemed that the Uchiha haven't stopped vying for the coveted power of the Manjikyu Sharingan. But it was all the better for Madara, the feelings of betrayal and loss would all make it easier for him to manipulate the young Uzumaki. Additionally, thanks to being a former, the young boy had an increased healing ability, coupled with his natural Uzumaki healing abilities and high chakra reserves. Yes, Uchiha Madara will make the boy his successor. The aged Uchiha had already given the boy his own blood, Senju Hashirama's, and even his eyes, the eyes of his brother Uchiha Izuna. With this not only will the boy be able to use the Rinnegan, but also the Sharingan. Not to mention the fact that he had learned how to assimilate Hashirama's blood in the Uzumaki in a way that also gave him something he couldn't give to the other experiments he had done years ago. The boy let out a large groan as he opened his eyes. I see you awake, young member of the Uzumaki clan. What happened to Sasuke? Without warning Naruto shot up straight from the bed. Wow, wait, it doesn't hurt, Naruto asked in half shock, half wonder as he clutched where the hole created in his body used to exist. Naruto began to check his body, positive that Sasuke had plunged a Chidori through his heart only to see unblemished skin. So it was a dream. Thank God Sasuke really didn't desert Konoha. It was no dream for Uzumaki. Madara, having seen enough, chose this moment to speak. But I'm alive, it's not like you could have brought me back if Sasuke really did kill me. Hey, where am I? Naruto said. I did revive you, if you don't believe me, check your seal, the Kyuubi was released after you died. Naruto's eyes widened as he heard a random stranger speak of his status as a, but nevertheless made his chakra swirl through his body. Ha, I'm naked, Naruto idly thought before only to see no seal appear, scrunching his eyebrows. Naruto tried to go to his inner consciousness only to fail. It was strange, ever since Jiraiya pushed him off the cliff he could willingly go towards the Kyuubi if he wished, but right now he couldn't. He's not there. Madara stayed silent. Then Sasuke really did kill me. At first it was only 1 tear, then 2, then 3, but soon the tears were indistinguishable as only a flow of salty liquid ran down Naruto's cheeks. Why Sasuke, you were like a brother to me, so why? Because this world is worthless. Let me tell you about young Uzumaki of the Moon's Eye plan. Minato-sensei, Kushina-san, days ago my student Sasuke killed your son even though we don't have his body. We confirmed Naruto's death because his name was taken off the Toad summoning contract. It is presumed that his body was destroyed when the Kyuubi broke free. The white-haired elite known as Kakashi of the Sharingan said as he stood there silently in front of the memorial stone. Minato-sensei, Kushina-san, Obito, Rin, Naruto, I'm sorry I failed you all. The sound of crunching leaves alerted him of a second presence making its way towards the memorial stone. Kakashi-sensei. Hello Sakura, are you okay? Kakashi asked as he heard his last student's voice. Yeah, Kakashi-sensei, I'm fine, Sakura said as she placed the flower she brought on the memorial stone. Hey Kakashi-sensei. Yes, Sakura. Is this what it feels like to lose a comrade? Sakura stifled a sob as tears streamed down her face. It's different from person to person, but in the end the damage is the same. Kakashi-sensei, I'm going to be apprenticed to by Tsunade-sama. I've already asked and was accepted. If Kakashi was saddened by this he didn't show, instead he continued to stare at the memorial stone. I'm going to bring Sasuke back. Sakura's eyes narrowed as she clenched her fist, the fondness she used to say of the black-haired boy's name no longer present. I won't kill him because Naruto wouldn't have wanted it, but that doesn't mean I won't beat him into pieces of shit. But that said, Sakura left, but Kakashi continued to stand there silently weeping. 3 years later. The world's most beautiful Kunoichi, Aka Senju Tsunade of the legendary Sannin sighed as she read the reports in front of her. These 3 years did nothing to change her appearance or even Konohagakure no Sato, if you exclude that her face was now on the Konoha monument. Tsunade frowned, her report said that Uchiha Sasuke had killed Orochimaru and was now leading a 4-man team including himself, most likely to help him kill Itachi. Now that Sasuke was out of Orochimaru's protection, Tsunade would have considered sending out 2 or 3 teams of shinobi to capture Sasuke if the political climate wasn't so dangerous at the moment. The Hokage sighed as she heard knocks on the door. Come in. Opening the door, her apprentice, Haruno Sakura, walked in. Sakura had changed a bit more than 3 years ago. She now wore a red top with 2 tails coming off the bottom like a long coat with a white circle on the back and no sleeves, black shorts, black boots, black gloves, a large pouch with the standard items plus medical supplies. Her forehead protector that was now red cloth was still used as a hairband, but the most notable difference was the purple diamond on her forehead signifying her status as Tsunade's apprentice. Tsunade had taught Sakura her S-ranked, the Sozo Saisei, Creation Rebirth, in order to protect her life since Sakura insisted on being a combat medic, and it did protect Sakura's life, once resulting in her apparent look of 19 years instead of her 17 years of age. Tsunade-sama, Jiraiya-sama, and Konohamaru-kun are back. Sakura said as she walked in with a stack of paper in her hands, much to Tsunade's chagrin, judging by her now apparent eye twitch. Tsunade sighed as the dull thud of the stack of papers rang in her ears a million times louder than it actually was. And where are they now? Right here, you old hag. Konohamaru never had a chance to finish as the book Tsunade threw landed right in his face. Wasn't that a bit too much, eh Haim? Jiraiya asked as he sat on the ledge of the Hokage office's window. Cut the crap, Jiraiya, where are you back? Tsunade asked, not to bother to hide her irritation at being called an old hag by Sandame's grandson. In response, Jiraiya showed a grim face. How bad is it? Tsunade asked, this time in full Hokage mode. Not good, I'm sure you already know how bad tensions between the villages are. Tsunade nodded at Jiraiya's words. There was an ambush by Kiri Shinobi on her apprentice which forced Sakura to use the Yin seal. Release. Unfortunately for Sakura, she was neither an Uzumaki or Senju, so she doesn't possess their longevity, and the after effects were worse than Tsunade's own. I just don't get it. 3 years ago the stability between the villages was all but assured for at least another decade, but suddenly ambushes started to occur between villages. Ambushes that the hidden villages claimed that they had nothing to do with despite the fact obvious proof. Tsunade grated as she massaged her head. It was true, a couple months after Naruto's death the tension between villages suddenly escalated, starting with Kumo shinobis trying to kidnap shinobi clan members from other villages. And despite their claim of innocence, no one believed them since they had attempted this before trying to kidnap the heiress to the Hyuga clan. Hyuga Hinata. Then Iwa's shinobi suddenly started to ambush Konoha shinobis. At first Tsunade thought it was a grudge from the decimation of their forces due to the Yondaime Hokage, but why would they wait so long to start grating on Konoha's nerves? From what Jiraiya gathered, this just led to more questions, and before Tsunade knew it, the tension and skirmishes had risen to almost a boiling point between all the hidden villages. All that was needed at the moment was something to tip the delicate balance known as peace, and voila, you have the fourth great shinobi war. What I'm puzzling over is that the ambushes seem to be in sync with what the villages want, hell even the identified shinobi bodies are enough evidence. The Iwagakure no Sato might have already declared war if their strength had already recovered. That's what I don't get, why would Iwa set up their ambushes, and bold ones at that, if they weren't prepared to go to war? Something is going on here that we don't know about, Tsunade thought aloud as she pondered over the issue. Any clue on the whereabouts of the Kyuubi? Jiraiya shook his head. The only sighting of the Kyuubi was when Naruto died at the Valley of the End. Again an uncomfortable silence settled in. But enough about that, how's the brat's training? Tsunade asked, trying to change the topic. Jiraiya smiled. Honestly, if you told me 3 years ago that Sarutobi's grandson was a hidden genius, I might have laughed at your face. But now he's really strong. Not only does he have the natural ability to be great and the potential too, he works hard for it. Yeah, Naruto's death really has a big influence on the brat Tsunade, and Jiraiya lapsed into silence, silently grieving over Naruto's death. So tell me, how strong is he? Well, at least level in most situations, but he lacks experience. But if you really want to know, you'll have to test him. Alright, Sakura, Konohamaru, Kakashi, you three along with Shikamaru and Yamato will form a team of 5. Tsunade announced under the moonlit night of Training Ground 7 at the three people before her. She had Konohamaru and Sakura paired together to test against Kakashi. And the results honestly surprised her. Sakura was stronger than she had been given credit for, since she added her Taijutsu enhanced strikes in conjunction with her natural skills, since Sakura was a natural type. I guess Sakura has been taking lessons from Kurenai. Konohamaru was also a big surprise. Skilled with both ninjutsu and bijutsu, he and Sakura kept Kakashi on the ropes despite his lesser skills in Taijutsu. Not that the young Sarutobi's skill in the latter two arts were weak, they were just lower than his bijutsu and ninjutsu. It seems the brat takes after Naruto and Sarutobi-sensei with his bijutsu, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, and Rasengan, and all. Tsunade thought fondly. Their objective will be to capture Uchiha Sasuke and bring him back. Tsunade-sama, but what about Orochimaru? How can we capture Sasuke with him still under Orochimaru? Sakura asked. Tsunade shook her head in response. I've just received intel that Sasuke has killed Orochimaru and formed a team of 4, most likely to capture Itachi. Shouldn't we have a bigger team if Sasuke has his own team than Tsunade-sama? Sakura questioned whether having a 5-man team would make it far harder to capture Sasuke if he had his own team. Sakura, we afford to dispatch too many shinobis for a mission like this, I'm sure you realize that you'll have to cross borders between the elemental countries. Sakura nodded at her master's words. But because of rising tension between the 5 hidden villages, if too large of a team is sent, it might be looked upon as an aggressive action, and war would start. Sakura nodded. Good, Sakura, Konohamaru, Kakashi, from here on you will be Team 7. Meet at the front gates tomorrow 12 o'clock sharp, Shikamaru and Yamato will meet you there. Dismissed. With that said, Tsunade walked away with Uraya and Shizune following her. You sure it's a good idea to send them at a time like this? Jiraiya asked his longtime teammate. It's because of times like this we send them now before the war starts, otherwise we won't have a chance to send them out. 2 figures walked through a forest trail, both of them wearing black cloaks with red clouds on it and elaborate straw hats that covered their faces. One had a hunched body almost as wide as it was tall, he was Sasori of the Red Sand. The figure next to him stood at 170 centimeters, and unlike Sasori who wore his cloak normally, the figure wore his like a cape. His name was Naruto, a former shinobi of Konoha, as many can tell from his slashed Konoha headband. Naruto had changed greatly over the 3 years. Gone were the innocent blue eyes, in their place stood 2 Madaras. His orange jumpsuit was also replaced with what appeared to be a replica of Madara's choice of clothing when not wearing armor during the days of the clan wars. His body had also physically matured, gone was all the baby fat, no one could call him short now, in contrast to his previous shrimp-like height, and his hair had grown past his neck almost reaching mid-back now. Those were all of the natural physical growth Naruto experienced, but there was also one more chance, the tall tail whisker marks that denoted him, as Konohas were also gone. Suddenly the 2 shinobi stopped, nodding to each other. Both of them went under the shade of a tree with Naruto sitting down with his back against the trunk. Naruto closed his eyes and placed his hands into the tiger seal. The next thing he saw when his eyes opened, he was standing on top of one of the fingers of the Jido Meizo statue, along with 9 other illusory figures created by the Akatsuki leader's Gentishin no Jutsu, magic lantern body. Technique. Naruto could see the outline of their leader Pain, Konan, Itachi, Kisame, Kakuzu, Haiden, Zetsu, and Sasori, all on top of one of Jido Meizo's fingers like himself. It seems that everyone has arrived. Pain said, as he initiated the start of the meeting he called for. So Leader Sama, why have you called us here? Kisame asked. To discuss the capture of the Hachibi. It is the most opportune time to capture the Hachibi with the Raikage going out of the village to have a peace talk with the Tsuchikage. Itachi and Kisame, you 2 will capture the Hachibi. Pain, what about the other? Naruto asked with no hint of nervousness as he called their leader by their moniker instead of Leader Sama. The other members used to Naruto's disrespect had already gotten used to it by now. We will leave them alone for now, even at this moment capturing the Hachibi might start a war. Why not start the war, it will be beneficial for us in the long run anyways. Naruto said. And how would it benefit us? Pain asked, with the other members also intrigued. For one, the hidden villages will be more likely to send them out into battle, so even if they disappeared, no one will suspect us of capturing them. They will think it as the result of an assassinations. 2, the hidden villages will be likely to hire us to do jobs for them. This will boost our reputation as a mercenary group. Since it would in time of a war, the hidden villages will not consider expanding their troops trying to kill us, rather they would be more likely to hire us after seeing our strength. Also, we raise the price of our service in the time of war. Yeah, I like you. Come on Leader Sama, let's start a war. The Jashin devoted shinobi of the group said as he thought about the sacrifices he would be able to attain for his god. Naruto, what if they get killed? It will delay us for years. Pain questioned the downside of the plan. It would be worth it. Ultimately we would have to wait 5 years at most for them to reform, but at that point the hidden villages would be too weak to pose a strong threat to us, they would be more concerned with rebuilding their strength. Pain silently pondered the suggestion, how will you start the war? After the meeting between the Tsuchikage and the Reikage, I will assassinate the Tsuchikage and frame the Reikage. Despite it being a gathering of S-class shinobis, most of their members' eyes widened at Naruto's statement. Naruto the Tsuchikage may be in his elderly years, but he is not known as Inoki of both scales for a reason. Do you have the confidence to kill him? Pain asked. In response Naruto smirked. Even the strongest shinobi of this era is but a child before the power of Uchiha Madara. Sasori, stay here, I'll confront the Tsuchikage. Naruto said as he jumped towards a tree branch and started to jump towards where the Reikage's and Tsuchikage's meeting place in the Kusa no Kuni, land of grass. Naruto stopped a few hundred feet away as he saw the building where the meeting commenced. He had already been warned that the Reikage was likely to bring a sensor, and a close to the Reikage. Speeding through 7 hand seals, Naruto slammed his hand onto the ground. Mokuten. Senbonzakura, wood release. 1,000 cherry blossoms. From the trees surrounding Naruto hundreds of tiny blades that reflected the light looking like sakura petals started to emerge. But Naruto didn't stop there as he went through several hand seals again. Tajuwu Sakura Bunshin no Jutsu, wood release. Multiple Sakura clone technique. The sakura petals started to form 4 clumps as more and more kept adding onto the clumps. They formed an outline of Naruto before they gained color and became perfect copies of Naruto. Spread out and restrain or kill the Tsuchikage's guards, but remember to leave 1 or 2. The clones nodded at the original's instructions and promptly disappeared to hide nearby to ambush the Iwa group after they left the conference hall. After that all there was to do was wait for the 2 parties to leave. The sun moved along with the time as Naruto waited for the conference to end until finally near dusk he spotted the Tsuchikage and Reikage walk out of the building from different doors and heading their separate ways, presumably to Tsuchi no Kuni, land of earth, and Kaminari no Kuni, land of lightning, respectively. Naruto silently shadowed the Iwa group, which consisted of the Tsuchikage and presumably 4-level shinobi that accompanied him. The only one that stood out was the extremely large shinobi towards the Tsuchikage's right. Suddenly the group of 5 stopped. Alright, you can stop hiding and come out now. The diminutive Kage called out. The guard seemed surprised at what the Tsuchikage said. He's more skilled than I gave him credit for. Naruto thought. Forming several hand seals, Naruto unleashed a large amount of flame 10s of times larger than the Uchiha clan signature Katen. Kakakyu no Jutsu. Katen. Gokumikyaku, fire release. Great fire annihilation. But Naruto wasn't done just yet as he sped through several more hand seals. Fueton. Tatapa, wind release. Great breakthrough. A great gust of wind was also emitted from Naruto's mouth, greatly increasing Naruto's fire attack. Jumping onto the middle of the road, Naruto waited for the inferno he created to stop. It wasn't that much longer until the fire stopped. So they created an earth dome to protect themselves, huh? The earth dome quickly crumbled only for Naruto to see that only the 4 were protected by it and that the Tsuchikage was nowhere to be seen. Naruto quickly jumped backwards, remembering that the Tsuchikage was known to be able to fly and use dust release. And none too soon because the ground before him disappeared due to the Tsuchikages. Morphing his regular Sharingan eyes into EMS, Naruto stared at Inoki of both scales. Those eyes? Impossible. Inoki thought as he stared at the blonde with Madara's eyes below him. Akatsuki, Shitai, Shinda, Fuun, get away, he's part of Akatsuki, you're no match for him. His 4 loyal subordinates obeyed him and ran back towards where they came from. Inoki slowly descended towards the ground, but not to the point of touching the ground a few meters away from Naruto. Who are you? Naruto instead chose to stare at the Tsuchikage before he decided to play a bit of psychological warfare. You've gotten stronger, Inoki. Inoki's eyes visibly widened at what Madara said. I don't believe it. You're still alive after all this time and with Akatsuki to Uchiha Madara. It seems that you still remember me. Naruto said as he gave a Madara trademarked smirk at his current opponent. Not really, I just remembered about all your losses to Senju Hashirama-sama. Naruto's smile disappeared and was replaced with a glare. It seems that the beating I gave you before wasn't enough, let me rectify that now, Inoki. Forming a horse seal, Naruto sucked in a good amount of air before he released it as a massive stream of intense flame at Inoki. Katen. Gokumasitsu, fire release. Great fire destruction. Inoki in response flew away into the air. Damn, if I was 20 years younger I would have blocked it with a earth release, but if I did it now my back would undoubtedly break from the backlash of blocking his technique. Azakiri no Jutsu, wind release. Wind cutter technique. Inoki gritted his teeth as he was forced to dodge the invisible blade of wind. I should really consider finding a successor, I'm too old for this shit. Inoki muttered as he focused his attention back onto Madara and started his Jinten. Genkai Hakuri no Jutsu, Dust Release. Detachment of the Primitive World Technique. Inoki unleashed this at Naruto with a considerable range that destroyed at least 50 meters. It's better to destroy Madara in one hit rather than fight a prolonged fight. Inoki thought as he observed the giant hole his cube-shaped attack caused. Sensing a large amount of heat from his side, Inoki immediately moved and not too soon as a giant fireball passed harmlessly above him. Swinging his head around, Inoki spotted the blonde Sharingan user on one of the taller trees away from the place he had just attacked. Good thing I made a shadow clone to attack and observe, if that had landed I would have died. Naruto thought as he stared at his elderly opponent. I can't fly so I can't reach the old man, I better stick to a ranged attack that would kill him in one strike. Blood started to leak from Naruto's left eye as he prepared for the strongest fire element attack. Amaterasu. Inoki quickly shed his white cage robes as the tip of it was lit up with black flames. Sweat started to leak from Inoki's pores due to the close proximity of the fire. Amaterasu does live up to its name as the strongest and hottest after all. Forming several hand seals, Inoki spewed out rocks from his mouth that formed 5 clones. Iwabunshin no Jutsu, Rock Clone Technique. The 5 rock clones flew towards Naruto as they covered their arms with a sort of rock armor. Naruto, seeing this, quickly made his way towards the ground making hand seals along the way. He slammed his hand onto the ground once more as he reached it. Senbonzakura Kage Ashi, vibrant display of 1,000 cherry blossoms. 2 rows of giant blades rose from the ground, each of them over 10 meters tall, and glowed pink before they dispersed into unaccountable numbers of sakura petal-shaped blades. The storms of petals made their way towards the rock clones and started an aerial struggle between them. Senbonzakura under the direction of Naruto's hand would try to shred the clones to bits while the clones would weave around the attack and try to head towards Naruto. So far only 2 of the clones were shredded into pieces of rocks. However, as Naruto continued his goal of destroying the clones while keeping an eye on Inoki, he frowned. His flying ability is keeping him out of my range, I might have to use Susanoo. But if I do there's a chance that there might be witnesses and the plan of framing Kumo will go awry. No, it doesn't matter who sees it, as long as there's a witness from the Tsuchikage's guard that says that Kumo's Reikage did it. Naruto activated his Susanoo and it immediately grew into Herculean size. Unlike Madara's which was dark blue and a 2-faced Oni, Naruto's was dark crimson 4-eyed, 2-horned Oni with 2 sets of arms. And none too soon as Inoki unleashed his Jinten Jutsu and destroyed his clones along with most of Naruto's Senbonzakura and the bottom half of his Susanoo where Naruto used to stand. Naruto quickly reformed the bottom half of his Susanoo. Is he really Uchiha Madara? His eyes are the same and the tone he uses, but why does he look so young and his Susanoo is a different shape and color too. Inoki quickly flew out of the way as Naruto's Susanoo unleashed several Magatama at Inoki. He's harder to kill than I thought. I guess you don't live to become a Kage at that age by being able to be killed easily. Naruto made his Susanoo materialize 4 swords in each hand and attacked Inoki with all of them. Inoki gritted his teeth as he was forced to keep dodging the never-ending strikes from the blonde Susanoo. At this rate, I'll eventually tire out and Madara will just simply kill me. I have to find time to unleash my. Maneuvering his body to the ground, Inoki touched the ground with the palm of his hands. Doten. Garemu no Jutsu, Earth Release. Golem Technique. 5 gargantuan golems made of rock relative or even greater than Susanoo emerged from the ground. Go. Inoki clamped him together and called for him to destroy Susanoo, but to his surprise Naruto made it disappear as he directly ran towards Inoki while dodging the rock golem's physical attack. Uchiha Madara, you're finished. Inoki said as he unleashed his Jinten. Genkai Hakuri no Jutsu, Dust Release. Detachment of the Primitive World Technique. Huff huff huff, that oughta huff keep you dead, huff, Inoki said as felt all the strength leave him after using a large amount of chakra and not to mention stamina dodging Naruto's attack. Blood suddenly began to flow from his mouth as he saw a dark crimson ethereal blade sticking out of his chest. Turning his head he saw Naruto cloaked in what seemed to be miniature Susanoo armor. The Susanoo was different from the giant one Naruto had dispelled, the one that covered him had red samurai-like armor, long spiky hair, and 4 katana, 3 of them sheathed with the 4th one impaling Inoki. How? It was simple really. I simply made a clone of myself when I was out of your line sight behind one of the clones you created to hinder me. All you simply destroyed was my clown with you. Naruto made an upward motion with his hand and sliced through the Tsuchikage's shoulder. Inoki, you've grown overconfident and prideful in your age. Despite thinking that I was Madara, you've always thought you would win. That is the reason for your downfall. Inoki lay on the ground bleeding from his bisected shoulder courtesy of Naruto. You aren't Madara, are you? Inoki gasped out. Naruto in response didn't say anything, instead he used Kaiten Gakkaku no Jutsu to burn the Tsuchikage's body to ashes. Finished with killing the Tsuchikage, Naruto started to run towards Sasori. On the way, Naruto suddenly stopped as his 4 Sakura clones appeared, each one with one of the guards. Which one is the strongest? All the clones pointed toward the largest guy. Kill all the others, but leave the large one alive. The clones nodded as they mercilessly broke the 3 Jonin's necks. Dispel yourselves. The 4 clones lost their shape as they scattered into their former shapes onto the floor, harmless pieces of Sakura petals. Naruto used a strong B-rank Raiden to char the corpse, furthering the evidence of Kumo's ambushes. But that done, Naruto lifted each of them and threw them in separate directions. But that done, only one remained. Naruto this time used a C-ranked Raiden to shock the shinobi before him. Where'm Tsuchikage-sama? The large man suddenly bolted upwards. Impressive even after taking that attack without any defense. He seems fine, however. Hey, Naruto said, and, as he wanted, the large man focused his attention onto him with his eyes meeting Naruto's EMS, his most fatal mistake. Tsukiyomi. Immediately the man's eyes dulled and he fell into a trance-like state. You will go back to Iwagakure no Sado and report that the Raikage set an ambush on your party. Your Tsuchikage fought bravely, but ultimately died at the Raikage's hands along with your group, and you barely made it back alive. After that you will kill yourself, claiming that you failed your duty to protect your cage, understand? The large man nodded. Good, now go. But that done, Naruto started back on his way towards Sasori. The 4th Great Shinobi War will now commence. The Hachibi sure lives in an isolated place despite being a hero. Nah, don't you think so, Itachi? Hoshigaki Kisame said, walking at a leisurely pace next to his partner, Uchiha Itachi. Kisame, the Hachibi, is known as the guardian of the village. From this so-called isolated place, he can snipe the intruders from miles away using a miniature that he was known to use in the 3rd Great Shinobi War. Be careful, Kisame. The guard that I hypnotized also said that the trains here have possibly learned to control more of his than in the previous war. Itachi said. Yeah, I heard about his prowess on the battlefield back in the war, but I never tasted his chakra even once. Such a shame. Kisame said with his usual sharp. Itachi stayed silent at his partner's bloodlust and continued to walk towards Unraikyo. Upon finally reaching the top, the duo spotted a man described exactly like Killer Bee, with a 2 bull horns tattoo on his left cheek, walking down the stairs leading from his personal training ground, while rapping horribly. Yo. In the Killer Bee spotting 2 suspicious figures. With my sting, I will. Itachi and Kisame just stared at the famed perfect Jinchuriki with near shock, or at the very least disappointment, as they watched his unique skills in action. Itachi-san, I'll take care of it. It won't take long anyways. Kisame said as he swung Samehada from his shoulders and pointed it at B. Very well. However, Kisame does not underestimate him. Itachi warned. Got it. Kisame said before a bloodthirsty smirk appeared on his face, and he leapt towards B with his sword high in the air and swung it down. The shark face jumps and comes crashing down. B quickly pulls out 2 of his swords and blocks the crushing overheard strike from Kisame. While B was fine, the same could not be said for the ground underneath him due to the force that was blocked. B takes the blow with no effect in the town. Kisame just stared at B, whose arms were shaking, trying to push Kisame back, who was using both arms. That was just terrible. Shut up. Fish breath, you'll soon understand the greatness of my rapping as you get your ass kicking. B jumped back quickly and threw his 2 swords up in the air before unsheathing his other 5 swords and launching them up in the air too. Kisame, having gotten impatient, made a low charge at B with his sword trailing behind. Killer B, seeing the attack coming, jumped high into the air and dodged the low swipe of Samehada. Ekaki, you're a sitting duck in the air. Saying that, Kisame jumped from directly below B with his sword prepared to make an upward strike. B, however, already knew this and with surprisingly aerial agility for someone of his looks, grasped all of the 7 swords in irregular places, the neck joint, elbow, knee, even his wrist and mouth, just not his hands. And started to spin in the air, becoming a spiked spinning ball of death crashing down towards Kisame. Kisame, seeing this, changed his already in motion upward strike to a defensive position, with Samehada's flat side, well, the wider side at least, bearing the brunt of the attack. The attack, however, didn't stop as it continued to spin and push Kisame down. Upon his feet touching the ground, Kisame immediately steadied himself and held his sword with both hands and swung it, catapulting B back. B, however, wasn't phased as he quickly landed on 1 foot after spinning through the air. Now that's more like it. Kisame said. He charged once again. B2 charged a moment later, only this time his sword gained a bright glow along with a low frequency sound as he used chakra flow to increase his weapon's vibrating rate, increasing the cutting power of his sword. However, to B's surprise, his sword immediately lost its glow and edge once it made contact with the blue-faced swordsman. However, before the chakra dissipated from B's sword, it shredded some parts of Samehada's bandages, revealing the scaled blade's hidden form. Grinning viciously, Kisum started to swing his blade again with great ferocity, while B continued to use his unorthodox sword style to spin and attack Kisum. However, neither of them could land a fatal blow on the other. Kisum, due to his overwhelming strength along with his giant sword, which caused B's knives to be blocked whenever they are thrown. Plus, with Samehada's ability, he couldn't use chakra flow. B, due to his unorthodox style that was never predictable, making Kisum's experience nearly useless. Also, with his light feet, Kasama could never quite strike him. Kisum, finish this quickly. We are still in enemy territory after all. If they discovered it was us Akatsuki that kidnapped them, the plan would fail. Got it, Itachi-san. Kisum said as he decided to switch to ninjutsu. Flashing through the hand seals. Shitatsu no Nami Jutsu, water release. Colliding waves technique. Opening his mouth right after finishing the hand seals, a large torrent of water erupts from his mouth. Upon seeing this, B jumped into the air to dodge it, but Kasama only changed the trajectory of the attack by moving his head towards B. B, seeing this, quickly sheathed his swords as he began to call upon Hichibi's chakra, forming a red chakra cloak with 4 tails swinging around. The tailed beast cloak easily blocked, or rather it burned, and made the water touching it turn into steam. After another moment or two, Kisum stopped his attack and B landed on the ground with his feet. Yeah, fool. Tuning out the weird beast's horrible rapping, Kisum flipped through another sequence of hand seals before slamming his hand onto the ground. Suiten. Sigi Mizukabe, water release. Impervious wall. The water that Kisum had previously unleashed stopped flowing off the mountaintop that they were on top of and began to flow backwards and into the sky, forming a wall that reached the sky, trapping Itachi, Kisum, and Killer B within it, along with a thin film of water on the ground. Don't bother trying to break out of this. Once you touch the walls, it will continue to drain your chakra and give it to me through the water. In fact, your chakra is being drained right at this very moment. Kakekaki. Killer B stayed silent as he realized that his tailed beast cloak was shrinking. Deciding to go into his second form, Killer B pumped more of the Hichibi's chakra into the cloak, making it denser. And turned dark red while peeling away his skin until his whole body was dark red with 2 bull-like horns and a skeleton hanging onto his right side. Lariat. It happened far too fast for Kisum to react, and he paid dearly for it as his torso was shredded and he crashed into his water wall, although it didn't break. However, Killer B didn't get off scot-free either, as Samehada took a chunk of his cloak's chakra, reverting it back into its first form. "Yes, I did underestimate you," Kisum said with his back against the water wall. "However, thanks to that, Samehada ate quite a bit of your chakra. It must have been delicious. I've never seen it grow so large before." Kisum complimented Samehada, which had flown off of his hand during the attack, crawled towards his master and extended its tip to wrap around Kisum's arm and heal him with the chakra he absorbed. Seeing this, Killer B just released his tailed beast and stood straight up, his glasses reflecting the sun's glare. "Don't underestimate me, you fool. Mess with the bee, you get stung." Raising his right hand into the air with a peace sign. Kisum watched as octopus tentacles erupted from B's body and grew larger and larger until the ox head came out along with its 2 thick arms. Bijuu mode. Bijuu Hachimaki, tailed beast 8 twists. B coiled the Hichibi's tails towards himself and began to spin rapidly, causing large mayhem with the sheer force of the spin like an artificial tornado. Kisum never had a chance as he was knocked away by the spinning tentacles. Not only that, the ground beneath him also broke, causing him to fall towards the lake along with the almost forgotten Itachi. "You want to get stung too, or go flying like shark face?" B said as he stared down at Itachi, who was on top of the tip of one of the many rocks that were created when B used Bijuu Hachimaki. "Ichibi, come with us, this is your last chance before I start to use force." In response, B just used one of his tails to smash the rock that Itachi was on. "I see, I was hoping that you would come quietly. Now I can't guarantee your life." Closing his eyes for a brief moment, Itachi opened them once more and activated his MS and glared at B's arms. "Amaterasu." B roared in pain as his arms lit up with black flames. Itachi of course dodged the wildly smashing tails and arms, careful not to be burned with his own flames. Finally, it seemed to end when B stopped rampaging and shrunk back to his human form. Quickly running towards B's body that was floating on the lake, Itachi sought to prevent the flames from spreading and killed B. Unsheathing one of the swords from his back, Itachi used the chakra flow technique that he had copied earlier watching B and Kisum fight. However, to his surprise, when he sliced off the arms that were still coated in his black flames, the cleaved off flesh didn't look like flesh at all, but rather a neatly sliced octopus tentacle. Widening his eyes, Itachi began to search for the escape. It was thanks to the realization that B had nearly duped him that Itachi could avoid the lariat B was using in his tailed beast cloak first version. "I see, it seems I too have underestimated you," Itachi admitted. "You should have escaped when you had the chance, but now it is too late." Taking out a kunai, Itachi charged at B and engaged in a taijutsu match. Unlike Kisam's fights, thanks to the fact that B wasn't using his unorthodox sword style, and with his Sharingan, Itachi easily kept up to B's taijutsu. However, it seemed like Lady Luck was shining on B when he got a lucky shot and struck Itachi in the solar plexus, only for him to turn into a murder of crows. "That's sneaky," B thought as he tried to break out of it but couldn't. "Yo Hichibi, a little help here?" B asked as he prepared to dodge the crows that turned into shurikens. The Hichibi of course broke his partner out of the, but B still dodged the shurikens thanks to the fact that Itachi actually did throw shurikens in conjunction with his. It seems that this level of is not sufficient to take you down, however. Itachi once again morphed his eyes into MS and once again began to clash with B. Tsukiyomi. Before B even realized it, he was tied up on a cross in a world of black and white with a red sky. "For 3 days straight you will be tortured here with." It was no use, however. Many times B tried to ask his partner for help as Itachi isolates his mind with the caster's own in a world that sped up time. B could only howl in pain as he was endlessly tortured for a skewed time of 3 days that actually lasted far longer. Itachi began to huff as B collapsed before him. Having already used 2 MS really took a toll on him. Picking up B, Itachi began to make his way towards where Kisame flew off towards. Thanks for watching my video. Goodbye.